from each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight, reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we have made it to the year 1961. And the first film of 1961 is the 51st Disney feature-length film. And it is from January 25th of 1961. And that is a film called 101 Dalmatians. 101 Dalmatians is based on a book by Dottie Smith. It is also the return to the animated classic style. So I wonder how this will hold up with the other animated classics that we've watched so far. But before we talk too much about it, would you like to start us off with a synopsis and maybe some notes about what we got going on?
Yep. So this movie is on Disney Plus. It runs for an hour and 22 minutes. It's listed as animation and action and adventure. And the synopsis that Disney Plus gives us is Cruella de Vil dog naps all the Dalmatian puppies in London.
This gives away the
entire movie.
Like the spoiler alert right there.
Disney wasn't on you really buying into it, I guess.
Do you have any other facts?
What kind of facts are you looking for?
So, I mean, I don't know. You know anything about like the actors or the animation style? I know that something I wrote on mine was that Walt Disney, he actually disliked this animation style. Which I think is kind of wild, but like I know like he had to like have a conversation with the people and ended up apologizing later about how he was so his strong dislike about the animation style.
Yeah, so there were some artistic and technical innovations.
Okay.
So zoography revolution was like a big thing. I guess that was it's the first film. Yeah. Used Xerox technology to transfer animators' drawings directly onto the cells. This eliminated the need for hand inking.
That's why I've all hated it, because his wife was one of the inkulators.
Maybe.
I love the animation style. It was so good.
This innovation pioneered by Ub Iwerks.
Ub Iwerks.
I probably just butchered his name. It gave this film its sketch-like, slightly rough aesthetic and reduced production costs significantly. However, it also meant the loss of the polished lines seen in earlier films. And I guess like if you do look at it, it does look like it comes out of a sketchbook, but I think I kind of always liked that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'll get there.
And then it used modern visual styles. So unlike the lush painterly backdrops of Sleeping Beauty in 1959, 101 Dalmatians employed a minimalistic contemporary look. The backgrounds designed by artist Walt Purgaroy, I probably butchered his name, sorry, used bold angular lines and subdued color palettes that mirrored the 1960s graphic design trends.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like if
I'm a big fan, so
yeah. So like the backdrops are definitely, I feel like, more simplistic, and they don't really take away from the characters. Because like after I read that when we were watching it, I kind of like was like, oh, that makes sense. It's kind of like coloring book. Like if you're thinking about like a coloring book of when you're a child, the backdrop of a coloring book.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I like the animation style, but I guess
even
that makes
some
sense.
of like the coloring in the backgrounds, if you really pay attention, like some of the color, like some of it's like kind of colored out of the lines. Like some of the colors don't make it into the blocks. So it was kind of different for the times, for sure. Which I guess maybe that's why Walt was like, I do not like this. It looks sloppy.
But it's so. I mean,
you just ruined my wife's job.
no. Well, she was already.
Maybe that's why he didn't.
Yeah. Yes.
My wife hates this. Maybe
Um,
it was her. Maybe it was her that really hated it,
Mhm.
and he was like, "But honey," and she was like, "No, you go complain."
One of the other facts about this is somewhere along the lines of the reissue, they shortened the name from it being spelt out to it being the number 101.
Mm.
As you can see here on the VHS, there's the number of 101, but it was originally spelt out.
Yeah.
Any other opening facts before we give a dive?
No, we can go on in.
All right. So it starts off with some animated credits, like you were talking about. There's some fun music. There's animated dogs barking. The title, like I said, is all spelt out, and the names and the characters and the production team are all in dog spots. The dog spots become musical notes, and then we see the end of the credits with there's like paintings of dogs in London and some lovely music.
Mm-hmm.
It then says that our story begins in London not so long ago, and we hear a narrator talking about living with his pet. But we find out that the narrator is the dog, and the pet is the owner, the dog owner.
Mm-hmm.
The dog's name is Pongo,
Yep.
and the pet in this film is Roger Radcliffe. Roger is a musician of sorts. Roger is smoking a pipe, and Pongo the dog says that the bachelor life is dull, which kind of sets up the premise for the beginning of the movie right there.
Mm-hmm.
Roger is married to his work. He's writing songs about romance, of all things. And Pongo says that that's something that he knows absolutely nothing about. But Pongo is determined to find Roger a mate. So he's looking out the window of their apartment, and he sees a bunch of dogs walk by, and all these dogs look exactly like their owners.
Mm-hmm.
Too short, too fancy, too old, too young, and they all look exactly the same. Thoughts on these owners and pups?
Well, they do talk about how, like, after a while, like, you and your pet start to look alike. But I mean, it kind of made me wonder as a child, like, when these people got their dogs, did they like show up like at a shelter and be like, "Excuse me, do you have a dog that looks like I would own it?
With that one artistic
Like, do you
lady.
have the match to me?"
What would the match to me be?
Faye.
Faye. Okay.
That's how we got her.
That's right. I said, here's my picture.
You're like, she's a lot bigger than I thought she was going to be.
Full of energy.
What do you think what do you think her first thoughts were of you?
Full of energy.
You're a lot bigger than I thought you were. But I was like, I thought she's a lot smaller than what I thought she was.
But then he sees the most beautiful creature on four legs.
Yeah.
Of course, another Dalmatian. And the owner is very lovely too.
Yep.
And he will never find another pair like that, not even if he looked for 100 years, which of course is 14 years in dog years.
You know, that's not 100% accurate, because I did recently read an article that talked about, like, you know how they always say like 1 year for human years is like 7 years for dog years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the case for all dogs, because like smaller dogs have longer lifespans, and larger dogs
this
have
Dalmatian is sticking with the 7-year plan.
So I don't know. Bigger dogs don't usually live as long, so who knows what it actually is for a Dalmatian.
But he sees that they're heading to the park, but he remembers that of course Roger never stops work till 5 o'clock, so he moves the clock forward till 5 o'clock. Didn't that would work in like my job now? If I just like roll the clock forward till 5? Because
everything's synced to some clock. Where is the clock? Like, our phones don't even like set themselves back anymore. Like, does it all on its own. It's like all automated. Like, we don't have to do it. Like back in the day when we had Nokias, you had to like, set your clocks. But now, where is the main clock?
Well,
because you'd have to set the main clock back.
There's some movies coming up where they like,
if you want that to
fire off a cannon or whatever to like tell what time it is.
But if you wanted to do that and you wanted it to actually work, you could probably get it to actually work, but you have to find the main clock.
Yeah, I work in
I
like
don't even know where the main clock
I work
is
in like one
anymore.
of the biggest industries and one of the biggest companies in the industry in the company. There's no way I could do that.
If you could find the main clock.
Yeah. Um, but
The
it,
mother clock. If you
it
could find the mother clock. If you know where the mother clock is, please let us know.
He
We're on to something.
Pongo was on something. So he gets the it works. He aggressively pulls Roger out to take him for a walk to the park. He's very much in a hurry. Thoughts on that?
When I was watching it, it reminded me of either one of us walking Faye around our neighborhood because that is exactly how she walks. It's like straight out the door. It's like, I gotta go. Let's go. Hurry, quick. And then she's like sniffing. She's on a mission.
There's no parks around here.
She's not looking for a dog. It's on our neighborhood. She's on a mission. I don't know what she's looking for, but she will like straight pull you and then all of a sudden just slam on the brakes because she's got to stop and sniff something.
Right.
And then it's like straight pull, stop, sniff.
So much like our lovely pup Faye, Pongo thinks that he finds the pair, but again, it's the too short dog. We see all the dogs from earlier, but then suddenly he spotted them. A perfect situation if he planned it right, but he can't depend on Roger. He says that he knows that Roger will just settle down on the grass and puff his pipe, and that would be it. So Pongo walks right up, walks them by them on the bench.
Yep.
But they barely even look up from their book. Even the female Dalmatian kind of seems interested. So Pongo's like, I got to do something here. He steals Roger's hat, and he throws it on the bench next to the lady, but they're gone for some strange reason. They left. So
probably because Pongo's barking the whole time.
Right. Well, there's a lot of barking in this film,
and I'm pretty sure she was trying to read a book.
She was trying to read a book. She wouldn't even look up.
She was probably like, God, shut up, dog.
It's my lunch break. Well, it's 5 o'clock. So it's sometime before 5 o'clock.
My dinner break.
Yeah. But Pongo's not giving up.
No.
So he wraps the two of them up in a leash, causing them to fall into the pond. So they're all wet. Their clothes are ruined. She's very upset. The female pup is also not loving it. And they tell the Roger and Pongo to go away, but then Roger offers offers his handkerchief for her to dry off, but his is like soaked. It goes in his pocket.
Yeah.
And
they just start laughing.
And then clearly it worked. Thoughts on that?
It's a very cute scene.
Yeah.
But back to this clock. Sorry.
Derailing the.
Yeah, I had a thought when you were talking.
Okay.
Do you think Roger was ever like, why is my clock off?
Well, he does say, he's like, my watch is slow because he has to mess with his watch.
Yeah, but like later, do you think he's ever like, what happened to this clock?
Well, I'm sure that he's like, well, that worked out really perfectly for me.
Okay. Okay, now we can stop talking about the clock.
Sorry. So they're all wet, but they start laughing. A few years ago, we talked about it on this podcast, but a few years ago, KJ and I went to Walt Disney World during a hurricane, and we weren't allowed to leave our rooms. But I posted a picture online for everyone to know that we were safe, and I posted this picture of them just being soaked. That was us.
Our dog was not with us.
No,
she was safe in North Carolina.
Yeah. But in typical Disney fashion, it cuts to the next scene, and Roger and his new friend, Anita, they're now dry and they're getting married in the church.
And she's wearing a dress similar to what she had on then.
Yep.
Not like a fancy wedding dress, just something like you would think, like if you were going to go get married at the courthouse, something that you would wear there. But she was actually in a very, very nice church, and this is what she was wearing.
Yeah, it was a very beautiful church.
It was a very beautiful
glass
church.
Windows and stuff.
But I did make the comment. I was like, "How do you like her dress?"
Plain.
I guess it doesn't take away from the dogs.
And the dogs who are not allowed in the church are outside kissing. But then it cuts to Pongo's, again, the narrator, and he says, for the next 6 months, they lived in a small apartment near the park. Just right for two couples just starting out. But then we find out that the dogs are expecting puppies. And we meet Nanny as well. And they say sometimes Nanny is almost canine. Thoughts about Nanny?
I always thought she looked familiar since I've watched this obviously as a child,
Mhm.
and I never could figure out who it was. And then when we were watching it, this rewatch, it occurred to me that she looks like the three fairies from Sleeping Beauty, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. Like if you combined all three of their features, you get Nanny.
But then you mix Nana from Peter Pan, because remember, she's almost canine, and that's
Yeah.
how you get her.
So okay, there you go. So she is three fairies and a Saint Bernard.
Nailed it.
Perfect.
So Roger is upstairs. He's working on a very earworm song that he can't think of the lyric. He can't think of the lyrics to this song.
Yes.
And I get it. I'm in a band. I get it. But he does say melody first, my dear, then the lyrics.
Mhm.
So he's humming this song. Oh, Roger, you are an idiot. Like all of that. And then we hear this like excessive honking, and we hear this car that's racing towards the house. And Perdita, our female pup here, sees who it is and says, "Oh, it's the devil woman." And then Roger says,
Do you think they just called her Devil Woman because her last name's DeVille?
spoilers, I haven't even said who it was yet. This is a Christmas movie. It could have been Santa Claus.
So Krampus just pops up in the movie.
No. So Roger then actually, no, I'm not even going to go there yet. Roger then says that it's Cruella DeVille, his wife Anita's dearly beloved old classmate.
Mhm.
But then,
But do you think that's why, like,
Yeah.
Perdita refers to her as, oh, it's that devil woman?
well, I mean, maybe in the past she
Of
showed
DeVille.
signs of what she's showing signs of.
Foreshadowing DeVille.
Yeah.
DeVille.
Um, so, but when he says her name, Cruella DeVille, he instantly has inspiration for his new song's lyrics.
Yep.
And the Cruella DeVille song is born.
Oh, Roger.
Yeah, you are an idiot, she says. And then,
like, she's coming into the house. Please shut up.
Yeah. He starts singing the song. He's like, if she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. And he just like turns this lady's name into like a How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
An extremely catchy song.
Yeah, like about like think of like How the Grinch Stole Christmas and like make that this song, and it's like the same thing.
It's like Andy's Cold Water.
Yeah. Hey, well, Andy has a band.
That song gets stuck in my head all the time. It's just like that.
I mean, this is a compliment.
Yeah. A little bit more jazzy.
But so then we meet Cruella with her interesting hair choice. And when they ask her how she's doing, she says, she's miserable, darling, perfectly wretched. And then I realized I didn't know how to spell the word wretched. You'll hear that very often.
Things you learn while doing a podcast with Jeffrey.
So there's no time for games. She is on a mission. She's on a mission for the puppies. Anita informs her that it is still 3 weeks until the puppies are born.
Yes.
And then she shows off her new coat and that she worships furs. She refers to the dog's perfectly spotted coats, and just then she leaves, like just showing how much of a creep she is. But that's probably why they call her the Devil Woman, because clearly she's like, your spots are like, So Roger keeps working on his lyrics. He's like, a vampire bat, an inhuman beast, so she ought to be locked up and never released. She kind of does look like all those things, though. Pongo confronts Perdita that nothing will happen to their puppies, even though Perdita's like, I don't even want them to be born anymore. Like, it's a sad little thing.
Yeah.
But then the next scene, it cuts to a heck of a Disney storm. And
I like how they were like, but why would she want them?
Yeah.
It's like,
what will she do with them?
Did she not just tell you she adores and worships furs?
Spots. I worship furs, she says. So, the next scene, it's a perfectly Disney stormy night. It's in October. This will play something later. It's in October. And puppies are being born. It will. I have a whole vent about it. I have a whole like rant about it later. Okay. The puppies are being born. We see a very impatient and stressed out Pongo who's waiting with an equally as stressed out pipe smoking Roger. Mm-hmm. And then Nanny exclaims that 8 puppies are here.
Poor Pongo. He can't smoke a pipe.
Nope. He is stressed though. So, but the boys are not allowed in the puppies being born. Nanny exclaims that 8 puppies are here. Just kidding. There's 10. Just kidding. There's 11.
Can you imagine? There's like puppies shooting out everywhere.
Yeah, just kidding. There's 13. Then 14.
I remember as a child
and
thinking,
then
wow,
15.
There's lots of puppies being born.
So there's 15 puppies, and the mother's doing fine. And they're like, "Oh, Pongo, you good old boy or rascal, whatever."
He calls him a rascal.
Yeah, well, he calls him a rascal later.
Mm-hmm.
But Pongo is shocked but excited. But then, again, in this dreary, rainy night, Nanny is sad that one of the pups didn't make it, so there's only 14.
Only 14.
But Roger gives it an idea, and he decides that he's going to rub the chest of the puppy just to see what happens, of the new little born. And the puppy named Lucky pulls through. Thoughts on this?
It's pretty lucky.
Mm-hmm. He rubs his pink little chest. And
yeah, cute pink little nose.
Yeah.
Cute little white puppy. No spots.
But then, after that nice little touch.
No spots.
We're not there yet.
He's just a cute little puppy with a bright pink nose.
Mm-hmm. So then, in a lightning crash, Cruella shows up. And she's like, 15.
15 puppies.
And she's all excited. Like she is there. But then she sees the puppies, and she says that they're mongrels. Because they don't have their spots yet, which I didn't know was a thing, but I guess that's something you learn. Yeah. And then when they say, they'll get their spots, I forgot how long it'll take, but they'll get their spots. So then she
3 weeks. Or something.
She pulls out her checkbook, and she's like, "How much?
I'll take the whole lot of
the whole litter." Yeah, she's like how much? She's like, "Clearly, you can't afford living off of Roger's songs." And she starts like maniacally laughing, and they're like, "We can't take these away from their parents. We love them. So no matter the price, Anita will not give them up." Now, this is where I wrote this. Do you think it's been exactly 3 weeks? Or do you think that Cruella just shows up every day for tea and being like, "Puppies here yet? Puppies here yet?"
She probably just knew.
She just knew.
It's a Disney film.
She
Things just happen.
She put like a bug in their phone.
Yeah, because she shows up at nighttime. Who's going to show up at your house at nighttime?
So Cruella,
she bugged their house when she was there the first time.
Cruella is very upset that they will not sell their pups. So she warns them that she is through with all of them, and she will get even. And she storms out, breaking things on the way out.
The look that Roger and Pongo gives Cruella when she inks them was always hilarious to me, because she's trying to write the check and then she can't get the thing to write.
Oh, yeah, the pen,
and like all of a sudden, like all of them have like ink all over them, and they're just like,
well, spots.
Like, you're not getting our puppies, lady.
The pen, wretched pen. She says, wretched. I don't know how to spell that. So they're gonna keep they're gonna keep the puppies.
Still don't know how to spell it.
And Roger is a blooming hero. And
by the end of the film, maybe Jeffrey will learn how to spell wretched.
I will. And then we cut to the pup. Next scene, the puppies are a little bit older, and they have their spots, and everybody's watching their favorite dog on TV, Thunderbolt. They say that Thunderbolt's even better than Dad, and then one of the puppies is like, "No dogs are better than Dad."
Yes.
So this is what I thought here.
I did not like the show on TV as a child. I never liked it. I didn't care.
It's very much like a Western.
But I love the commercial for Canine.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there on that. But first, this is where I started thinking to myself, watching it this time. Disney should have made a Thunderbolt spin-off TV show like they did for like the Emperor Zurg later on, and all of the Star Wars series now. So
maybe they will.
They're gonna, don't steal my idea. Deep dive in the magicpod@gmail.com. But
they should make their own dog food, Canine Crunchies.
Well, we'll get a reference to that in a second. Patch has a foul mouth that he didn't learn from his mother. Rolly is hungry, and he could eat a whole elephant. And then
Rolly is my spirit animal.
And then Lucky,
I'm hungry, mother.
Lucky is blocking the TV. Thoughts on all these pups that we've learned so far?
Mother, I'm hungry.
Um,
You just ate. But I'm hungry.
um,
Always hungry.
Old Thunder saves the day on the TV, and the
Mhm.
dogs are all barking excitingly.
Yep.
Excitedly, sorry. And then there's a commercial for Canine Crunchies, like on the ground at the All Star Resort, All Star Movies Resort. There's like the 101 Dalmatians section outside, and like there's like Canine Crunchies all over the ground.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Let's go back and look at that.
Well, when we do our next references video in a
Okay.
bunch of years, we'll do that. Yeah, there's Canine Crunchies all over the ground. But it is time for the pups to go to bed. Why? Because Pongo and Perdita want to go for a walk.
They want to go for a WALK.
Yeah. Face gonna come running down the stairs.
It's just when I say it, apparently.
But they want to go for their evening constitutional. So then the owners take the two dogs for a nighttime walk. But then we see two men suspiciously reading the newspaper in a truck, like right outside the apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Horace and Jasper, the Baddens, that's their last name, and they're London's favorite criminals. And I think that they are the models for the wet bandits for the Home Alone. Think about it. One's tall, one's skinny, one's like an idiot, one's not. So like,
and yeah, I can see that.
I'm a big fan of these. Well, I'm not a big fan of them being bad, but they are great.
You're a good fan of these villains.
No, they're like great. I mean, you love Maleficent, so who am I to say anything negative? But they're great.
Is this your favorite villains thus far?
Are the possums in Ichabod and Mr. Toad villains? Like those like badgers?
Yeah.
So, yeah, then probably not. Okay. So they go up to the front of Anita and Roger's house and they ring the doorbell and they convince Nanny to let them in to inspect the wirings and the switches. We're here for the wirings and the switches. She says no, but they force their way in. She's like, "What's the matter? Do you two have cloth ears?" What do you think cloth ears is?
Like cloth in your ears.
Oh, okay.
Like earplugs.
They lock her in the attic, and then the two of them are like, "All right, we need to leave. We're not welcome here." They pack up and they leave. So she thinks that they made off with the good silver, but is shocked and upset when she finds out that they have the
puppies.
They have the puppies.
They're gone. Back to the puppies. If you had to adopt one out of the whole litter of the 15 puppies thus far, who would you have picked out?
I mean, I'll be like a jerk if I don't say Lucky, probably. But I think as a kid I had like a stuffed Spot, so I think probably Spot. Patch.
Yes.
Patch also was like a big
bully.
He was also like a big like in like the cartoon when we were kids. He was like a more of like
I don't think I ever watched the cartoon when we were kids. But I could see that because like
because I'm a bully.
No, I could see him being like a main character out of all of them. Like he's one of the more predominant. I feel like it's always Patch, Lucky, and Rolly as like and it's like really only those three. And there's one girl, and I don't remember what her name was, but I feel like there's always those
Mother.
three specifically.
Later on, she's like, "Mother." Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I have a core memory of being a child and having to go get shots for school, and
that was like 2 years ago. I'm just kidding.
And I didn't. I know I was young, and I don't think I actually knew what shots were. I actually think I thought they were going to shoot me, to be honest. And I remember running to my great grandmother's house crying, and I was like, "Nanny's going to take me to get shot." She was like, "It's going to be okay. I'll go with you." And I was like, "I'm going to get shot." And I remember on my way there, we stopped at the store first, and I got to pick out toys so that way I would be good for my shots. I think it was shots to start kindergarten, ironically. And the movie must have made like a coming out again because they had the toys for it. And I remember
like McDonald's toys for it.
Maybe, I don't know. So I picked out a stuffed. They came in a pair because I know I wouldn't have got more than one, but they came in a pair, and it was a stuffed Rolly and a stuffed Patch. And I specifically remember getting these shots in my legs and trying to run. And I remember somebody picked me up and was holding me, and I remember holding on to these animals and holding on to the side of the door like, no, as I was getting like shots in my legs. I wonder if my grandma remembers this. I wonder if it's one of her core memories.
Maybe.
Which is probably like, Kristen, that was embarrassing.
So
I was getting shot. With my
speaking,
animals as I tried to claw my way out with Patch and
speaking
Lucky.
of getting shot.
But I would have picked Rolly. He was my favorite. That would have been the one I wanted to adopt. So you would have picked Lucky?
No, Patch.
Okay. You said you would have been a jerk, so okay. So Patch. So we would have had the combo of my stuffed animals that tried to save me.
So speaking of getting shot, what a lovely segue. The dog napping is all over the newspaper.
Yes.
We see that Cruella is bougily in bed reading the newspaper, smoking her cigarette that's this long. And she's reading about it and she's laughing. She's calling them all fools. But then her phone rings. Mm-hmm. And it's the Baddens asking for their money because the papers are onto them. And she says that there's no money until the job is done. So then she's like, all right, I'm indestructible. So she calls over to Anita to show her concern, cover her tracks. Mm-hmm. And Roger answers, calls her like an idiot, or like it's like a whole like Three Stooges type scene. Rogers, but he says no, he's on to her, but she says that she's not a thief because she's been investigated by Scotland Yard and they didn't find anything. Mm-hmm. So right now she is just innocent, and they just slandered her in the song.
Yeah. So she's sitting in bed, bougily, as Jeffrey said, smoking her pipe, watching all this.
It's a cigarette, and it's like this.
Calling long. Them. Well, yeah, it is a cigarette, but it has like a
holder.
Yeah, I don't know. It's super long. And I remember as a child, I guess growing up in the South, seeing people smoke all the time. Like, obviously, it's nothing to me. It makes sense. But I always wondered, why is the smoke from her cigarette green? And it always creeped me out.
Yo! No, completely off topic, but maybe that's what they were drinking and smoking that turned to go green from wick. You can see what we saw this week.
It wasn't even this week.
It was a couple weeks ago.
Jeffrey is still hung up on this movie.
Fantastic.
If you want to go watch this movie
again for the multiple times,
one of the nurses I work with was like, "You'll let me go with your husband to watch that?" I was like, "Yeah,
let's go."
He'll sit there. He won't interrupt you, and you don't have to share your popcorn because he doesn't eat it. And she was like, "I can really take him."
Yeah, let's go.
It's like,
deep dive in the magic pot at gmail.com.
Sure, go ahead.
So last in this film so far is that we find out that Scotland Yard has checked for Cruella and they haven't found anything yet. So then Pongo tells Perdita that it's all up to them and the Twilight Bark.
The humans have tried everything.
It's up to the Twilight Bark. Something that we refer to in this podcast a million times. Something I refer to every single day of my life. Whenever I hear a dog barking, I'm like, oh, it's the Twilight Bark.
Yep.
It is the fastest way to spread the news. Would you like
and just yesterday,
your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I did not fuss at Faye when I brought her in because it was so cold outside, but she wanted to just go out there and like stand. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then like she starts barking. So usually at that point, I'm like, okay, you need to come back in because the whole neighborhood doesn't want to hear this. But like when I'm like letting her back in the house, I'm kind of like giggling to myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to fuss at you for barking because it sounds like the whole Twilight Bark is going on in the neighborhood. So
what's the fastest way to spread the news?
Here's your treat. Thanks for coming in.
So in the park, they keep barking and barking and barking, but no one can hear because it's too cold.
Which makes no sense to me.
But then all of a sudden they hear the Great Dane of Hampstead who starts barking back. Mm-hmm. Pongo is determined to keep barking, even though Roger tries to stop him because he's causing a scene. Mm-hmm. And then there's more dogs barking. It's an all-dog alert. It's up to the dogs. The Twilight Bark. Yep. More barking and passing it along. Pet shop dogs get involved. The whole town is barking.
Yep.
Any thoughts on this before we talk about the Colonel?
Yes. So during the Twilight Bark, there are hidden cameos. If you pay attention for them, you can see sequences that reference Lady and the Tramp, Peg from Lady and the Tramp, and even Jock.
My dude.
It kind of made me mad because Trusty wasn't there, but there's another dog that's coming up that looks a lot like Trusty, so
it's true.
I'm assuming that's why they didn't put him in there.
So all these dogs are helping. All the dogs are barking.
Yeah.
But as we learned,
and it obviously is not Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, because they are from Connecticut. I did look this up because I was like, is this like legit them? Because these people are in London, and I did look it up, and apparently,
so I was right.
Yeah, you
by
were
saying the Yale.
You
thing,
were right
like,
because it does take place in New England for Lady and the Tramp. So it definitely takes place in the Connecticut area because
look back and watch that deep dive because I said it in the thing. I was
and I was like, well, I guess you were right because it does say that it took place in New England because there was a flag there that said Yale, and I don't think I ever saw the little flag that said Yale, but
I picked it up.
So it's not really Lady and the Tramp, but it is a little cameo to them. And there was another movie. I don't know. There was another movie one day that I asked you. It was like there's a dog off of Lady and the Tramp that this person looks like, and you're like, "What are you talking about?" And I never could remember her name, but it's Peg.
Oh, okay.
There is somebody in a movie that we watched recently, and I'm like, she looks like a dog, the dog from Lady and the Tramp. And you're like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, that one dog. And I was talking about Peg. Now it's gonna bother me. I'm gonna have to go back and look to see who I was talking about.
We're only 51 films in, so we got plenty of chance to catch up.
Maybe it was a recent film. I don't know.
It was.
We watched so many movies. There's so much going on in my brain.
It was. We also saw the new. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So the whole town is barking, and the bark makes it very far. It makes it to the Colonel.
Colonel.
And then we see a horse that's waking up. The Colonel's like an older dog.
Yeah, he's over there.
So then we see a horse that is one of the assistants for the Colonel, and he's waking up Sergeant Tibbs. Sergeant Tibbs is a cat.
Sergeant Tibbs.
And Sergeant Tibbs is a cat. And so we now have another character in this film because the Colonel and the horse aren't going to go.
I don't know if I wrote it down, but it bothered me because for some reason in my mind, I don't know if it was like a Mandela effect or whatever, but Sergeant Tibbs, the cat, changed colors in my mind.
I don't know.
What color is he, actually? Is he like an orange color? Yes, he's like an orange color.
Yeah.
I swear in my mind I thought he was gray.
No,
and I was like, wait, when did this cat change colors? And you're like, he hasn't.
Yeah. But success, all the barking is successful. It's very Morse code like. And then Sergeant Tibbs says that he heard puppy barking at the old DeVille place.
Dun, dun, dun.
And they're like, well, no one's been there in years. I wonder if it was dog years, and then it was a couple months. But no, but no one's been there in years.
She has lots of places.
But then they look.
She's rich.
They look and they see clearly she can pay for any amount.
Exactly.
But, they look and then they see smoke coming from the chimney. So they're like, uh-oh.
I hope somebody's there. If not, the house is on fire.
So then they send the cat, Sergeant Tibbs, to go look around the house. They then sneak through the window and a crack in the wall, and you'll never guess what they see.
Canine crunchies.
They see Snow White sleeping in all the little beds. Just kidding. They see puppies, lots and lots of puppies. So Tibbs goes and asks one of the pups if he is stolen, and he's like, "I'm not one of the stolen ones. I was bought and paid for, but there is some with colorful collars who are not from the pet store." And we learned that there is 99 total, 99 puppies. And then we see our friend's horse Jasper, who are eating and drinking and horsing around. And then Tibbs then notices that there is the stolen puppies that are here.
They're all around the TV, watching the TV.
Of course they are. Because that's what they were doing earlier. Because they're domestic. I don't want to use the word domesticated. But you know what I mean. They
They didn't grow up in a pet shop, so
Well, we'll get there on this because I have a whole rant about this afterwards.
they were
about
like
them.
legit ready to just sit there and watch TV. And poor
Mhm.
Rolly was probably like, "I need food,
I'm
y'all.
hungry,
I
mother.
need
I'm
food.
hungry.
You guys don't feed me."
So where am I? Rolly, perfect timing. Rolly steals some of Horace's sandwich, just eats the food right off the sandwich.
Yeah.
And Lucky is blocking the TV because, of course, he is.
Yeah.
And the bad guys, the Baddens, they go to take a sip of their alcohol, and it's actually like they pick up Sergeant Tibbs by the neck, so then they notice the cat. And then, but he runs away. He escapes the darts, and like they throw stuff at him. So then they start the Twilight Bark in reverse to get it back to the Pongo and Perdita. So everybody's channeling the Morse code back to them. They pass the news back to London. And then when Pongo and Perdita find out the news,
So if they're in London, where exactly does this Deville
it
place?
never says. I mean, it has to go past. I forgot where it said earlier that they're all the way in like Hampstead and stuff. So like,
well, obviously we're not from that country, so we don't know exactly the layout of the country. Sorry, we apologize.
So, but Pongo and Perdita find out the news. And then they're told to go to Primrose Hill, where there's going to be another pup there to tell them the rest of the news. And then they're like, how are we going to get out of here? Oh, wait, we can escape through the back bedroom window. The back bedroom window. How do these Disney pet owners not learn to close their windows? Watch my rant on the Lady and the Tramp video.
Jeffrey's all upset about windows. You can't leave windows open. They
because
be closed
the animals always get out.
It doesn't matter. This is how Jeffrey always is.
When they don't close the windows. But in this case, at least it worked. They got out. They
saved the day.
Yep. So,
there you go.
But it did not
all
say
right,
the day.
Well, thank you for deep diving the magic.
No, they did not say the day of the Tramp. So they make it to go. So they escape and they run away. They make it, and they're told by the Great Dane that the puppies are in Suffolk. There you go. They're in Suffolk. There's your answer.
It still doesn't give me.
But they're in Suffolk, and they find out that it's in the Deville place, so they leave right away.
And then this Deville place. Yeah. It is that devil woman.
That's right. They begin to run even faster. They are on their way.
What does she want with their puppies?
But then they are running, and it just starts the blizzard. It's like they are running through the blizzard, the frozen river. They're just running, but then we see that the colonel is talking to the horse, and Tibbs, and then they see Cruella's car going to the Deville place, and they're like, okay, we have to do something. But they see the Battens are watching a game show called "What's My Crime," which I think is pretty funny. It's just like a bunch of criminals. And everyone's trying to guess what the crime they did. Cruella is all in a tizzy. She is stressed out. The job needs to be done tonight because people are on to them. But they're like, the puppies are too small. Like you're gonna get a fur T-shirt if we, because the puppies are too small. So then at this point, she admits the puppies.
You know what really bothers me?
Go ahead.
Have you ever pet a Dalmatian?
No, I don't think so. There's a bunch of Dalmatians at Walt Disney World in the
they
firehouse.
Have fur that's like as long as face, so it's not like you're gonna get like a super like soft long fur out of this. You're going for the pattern, I'm assuming, because why would you make a fur coat out of Dalmatian?
I don't know. She worships furs.
I know, but it's not gonna be like an extravagant fur like you're thinking.
Yeah,
like everybody, like all of your friends that have touched Faye have always said she's way softer than I thought she was going to be. She still has puppy fur. Dalmatians don't have that. Like their fur does not feel like that. So it's not like a super like soft fur that you're going to be like. Oh,
maybe her dream was to always sit on a fire truck.
No,
the Dalmatians always sit on fire trucks.
Maybe.
So this is where she finally admits that the puppies are for fur coats. And she tells the Battens to do something about it, to poison them, to drown them, to bash them on the head. Got any chloroform? She says. She threatens to call the police herself if the
Terrible lady.
what's that? Terrible? Yeah.
Terrible
She
lady.
threatens to call the police herself if the job is not done by morning, which is a weird threat knowing the circumstances. But then Tibbs breaks back in and he tells that the pups need to save their own skins by escaping through the hole in the wall.
Yes, because Tibbs at that point realizes, oh, that's why she's got you guys.
That's right. But the Battens are distracted watching their game show. Somebody they know is on it. And if you win, this is something I thought was funny. If you win the game show, you win a paid vacation after you pay your debt to society, obviously. So the dogs are escaping one by one out the hole. But unfortunately, Lucky is too busy watching the stupid TV.
Yep.
So Tibbs is able to get him through the hole, but then Rolly is too rolly to fit through the hole.
He's too rolly.
And then the bad guys TV show ends and they get ready to do the deed, but then they end up fighting over who's going to do the popping and who's going to do the skinning. And then they realize that the dogs have escaped. So
basically they're still going to go through with this, and Cruella's going to end up with a 101 Dalmatian spotted halter top.
They chase. I mean,
you're welcome.
She's bougie enough with that cigarette.
As skinny as she was, though, she probably could have had a whole suit, to be honest, with all these.
So they chase the pups up the stairs into a creepy room, kind of like in a horror movie. But the cats and pups escape.
I think that's what a lot of people like base their horror movies on.
Maybe. The cats and pups escape down the stairs. They then hide under the stairs, but then they're forced back into the room, and they're trapped by the bad guys. But then at the exact same time, Pongo and Perdita, they hear the Colonel, and the Colonel's like, "I'm going to lead you to them to get them." So then they start running towards the house, and Pongo and Perdita break through the window into the house and attack the Battens while the puppies escape out the hole. And then we learn that Jasper wears purple boxers because they bite like a hole in his pants. And they also learn that Horace burns his backside in the fireplace. Thoughts on that?
And they got holes coming to him.
It's true. The two hero dogs escape as well, and they're all reacquainted while hanging out in a barn. When the adult dogs learn that there's 99 total, and that they were going to be used for dog skin coats, they decided that they're going to take all 99 of them home because their pets will never turn them away, which I wrote was your dream.
It is. Faye deserves to have other siblings.
100 other siblings.
Yeah. We'll get a bigger house.
I mean, if you want to donate to our bigger house fund. No, I'm just kidding. They escape out the back before Horace and Jasper can find them. And then a horse kicks the bad guys into a hay pile, which causes them to be able to see see where the dogs are going. The dogs hide under a bridge on the frozen water. It's very wintry. The dogs slip on the frozen river. They are not having a good time, but they can't walk on the snow because it'll give them some tracks. Any thoughts on this?
It's pretty smart.
Yeah, but it's just so cold, and then they're not having a good time. They're slipping all over the place. So Cruella arrives to scream at the bad guys for not finding them. But the dogs are very worn out and exhausted, and their tails are frozen, and their noses are frozen, and their toes are frozen, they say. But then another dog comes and tells them that they have shelter at a dairy farm across the road. So they get into this barn with the cows.
And ironically, it was a collie. Kind of like Lassie. How Lassie always saves the day.
It's true.
If you haven't watched it, you should. It's a good show. Back in the day.
Yeah, I mean that's a good mention right there. I didn't even think about that.
You're welcome.
Hey, there you go. So then they're hanging out with the cows, and the cows are talking about how cute the puppies are and how famous the parents are. And the puppies are all talking about
The famous Pongos.
the famous Pongos, they say. They talk about
Not the famous Radcliffes, the famous Pongos.
it's true. Roger Radcliffe. The puppies are all talking about how hungry they are in unison. They are worn out. They are hungry. So the cows offer them some warm milk on the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's natural. Thoughts on that? So they go up to like the cows and they drink right out of the udders.
Yeah, because that's ever going to happen.
I mean, it's called like Life Finds a Way or whatever.
What is this, Jurassic Park?
Yeah. So then
Life finds a way.
So then they rest. They rest for the evening.
And then all of a sudden you have velociraptors jump.
No. So then they they eat and they rest for the evening. But the next morning they have to begin their journey again.
Yeah.
But they hear the honking of Cruella. And then Pongo uses like a branch to kind of cover up their tracks, but then Cruella sees the uncovered tracks, knowing that they're close.
She's like, I wonder.
Or she actually says that on the next thing, but with like the soot, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but I think she also says something very similar
Yeah.
to that when she sees the tracks are gone in the road, but she sees them on one side of her and then she sees them on the other side of her. Okay.
So then they make it to the Labrador of Dinsford, who has a ride home for them.
Labrador.
Who has a ride home for them.
In a van.
A truck, yeah.
A van. They keep calling it a van.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. It's a van that is
a moving truck.
Yeah. It's going to London once the engine is repaired.
Mm-hmm.
And there's room for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, Cruella and Horace and Jasper are very close. Like they are on their trail.
Mm-hmm.
So then my buddy Patch,
mm-hmm.
Is being a bully, and him and Lucky are arguing, and they end up like arguing and themselves getting thrown into a fireplace,
mm-hmm.
and they get covered in soot.
Yeah, the fireplace is not on. Just so
we're not
burning any puppies.
No. Okay. So
just that we should reference that before
they get put into soot.
But only halfway.
And they start to look like Labradors. So they decide that they're all going to roll around and disguise themselves.
Pongo gets this idea, and he just starts rolling around, and Perdita is just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is not the time. And then he was like, look, I look like a Labrador.
I'm a Labrador.
So there you go.
One of the dogs says it's a great idea.
These are like the smartest dogs ever.
It's true. One of the other dogs says it's a great idea, and it's clearly the voice of Baloo, the Jungle Book. Mm-hmm. The puppies all say that they always wanted to get good and dirty. And then now dressed as Labradors, they all slowly make their way to the truck disguised. And Horace thinks that it's their puppies disguised, but Jasper calls them.
What do you think if they disguised themselves?
Jasper calls him an idiot and doesn't believe him.
He's like, you idiot. Why would they be smart enough to do that?
Cruella is
Joke's on you, buddy.
Cruella is very angry. There's still no luck. But as more of the, because like they're going out like so many by so many, and as more dogs make their way to the van, the truck turns on and it starts to run. So they are running out of time. At the same time, Horace and Jasper find like the barn where they're hiding, and Pongo is running out the final group. But at the exact same time, Cruella watches. Like, she's watching me, or whatever one of them says. Like, she's staring at us.
She's watching us.
Yeah. But at the same exact time, some snow is dripping.
It does like a fun little noise.
The snow is dripping on the pups. Yeah, and
then all of a sudden they're getting white spots.
Excuse me, and so their soot's going away. And do
you think at that moment she's like, "Oh, I can have a whole different kind of white spots"?
But at this exact time, she says, "I wonder." This is the part where she's like, "Excuse me,
Dad." She's watching us.
And then like it hits
a whole thing of snow just falls on one, then all of a sudden it's like full Dalmatian.
Yeah. So she's like, I wonder. And then like they
and he's like, oh God.
So
they just grabs him and goes.
Yeah, they run for it, and right as the van's taking off, Pongo jumps on as the last dog, so they are on. And then Cruella is in very hot and unsafe pursuit. Like she is forcing this truck, and this poor truck driver just blaming her on being a woman, which I think is like really hasn't aged well. But like she is just like she is trying to like break into this truck, and the guy's just like this awful woman driver, which is awful, but whatever.
Yeah, so that scene reminded me, is it Dastardly off of
Oh, Dastardly and Muttley.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
reminded me of. Because the car and everything, the way
Yeah.
and
Well,
fire
yeah,
in
I
her
was
eyes.
gonna say that. Which is actually really funny. So she is trying to push this truck off of a bridge, but she's forced off of it instead, which causes like her car to become a convertible. Like it like rips the top off of her car. And so you said Dastardly, I said Mr. Toad. She has a Mr. Toad crazed eyes, like crazy look in his eyes. And runs directly into the truck to stop it. But at the exact same time, Horace and Jasper come by and they crash right into Cruella. And she says, "You idiots," which allows the truck to get away. Any thoughts on that before we get to the next scene?
Well,
No?
No, not really.
All right. So
just the Dastardly thing.
if Dastardly met
fire coming out of her eyes.
If Dastardly met Mr. Toad.
Maybe.
So then we cut to
maybe that's his mother.
Maybe. So we cut to Roger and Anita's house on Christmas, because this is a Christmas movie. And they are listening to the radio. They're listening to the radio, where they hear Roger's big hit, the Cruella de Vil song, is playing, and they talk about how much money that it made them, money that they never dreamed of, but they're still upset over hearing. I'm sorry, they're still upset over their two beloved dogs running away.
I never understood this. Like, how can he make a song with this woman's name in it and not like be sued?
Well, that's what I was saying. So I know that she's evil. I mean,
obviously it makes sense of when it after the fact.
Yeah.
But he did this at the beginning of the movies, like when he started it. So it's like how did he get until it was like proven? Like how was that a thing?
I have a rant here. I know that she's evil, but in her eyes, she's not doing anything wrong. In her eyes, she's trying to pay for these puppies. She's trying to do this.
She's gonna bash their heads in.
Well, hold on. In her eyes, she knows what she's doing.
Okay.
Again, it's horrible, absolutely horrible. But this dude legitimately writes this Grinch-style Christmas song about her, about just tearing her apart. How do you think that she feels? But again, she's horrible. So
she probably doesn't care. She was already miserable.
It's true. Absolutely wretched. So the nanny says,
still doesn't know how to spell it.
No, I don't. Nanny says sometimes she can still hear the barking in her dreams. And then then we hear lots and lots of dogs barking, and a whole bunch of Labradors come running into the apartment. But they discover that it's actually their pups covered in soot, plus a whole lot more. They hug and they dance with their beloved Pongo and Perdita, and then they begin counting all of the puppies. 101 dogs total. It's a wonderful Christmas present because this is a Christmas movie.
All these movies are Christmas movies.
They call Pongo a rascal because they think that he fathered all these pups, but they decide that they're going to keep them all. They're going to buy a bigger place in the country. A Dalmatian plantation. It's truly an inspiration. It'll be a sensation. And then Roger begins working on his next big hit about the Dalmatian plantation. And the pups join in, causing the Twilight Bark to join in as the film ends. Now, before we end of this film here, they got married in October. Okay.
Are you sure they got married in October?
They say it in the beginning. I like quoted it.
I thought you said the puppies were born in October.
Okay, fine. You're right. Sorry.
So were the puppies born in October?
No. Yes.
Did they get married?
Yes. You are correct. They get married.
Okay.
And they live in a small apartment near the park for 6 months. They say that, which was stated earlier in the film. And the puppies are born on a stormy night in October.
Mhm.
And that is there's heavy snow on the adventure, and now it's Christmas time.
Mhm. Yeah, but they say if you okay, so
Do dogs not have a 9 month?
no,
Oh, okay,
I don't think so.
okay.
It depends on the dog breed and how big the puppies actually are. But it takes weeks for them to actually have their spots. And if you think about it, it
3 weeks, yeah.
takes to be able to survive without the mother, they do recommend, I think for dogs, it's like 8 to 10 weeks with their mother. So that time frame kind of matches up if
Okay,
you think about it.
okay. Well, these poor pups
Because
have lived more in the
because
first.
Rolly was obviously eating more than milk at that point.
Yeah. Well, these pups clearly have lived more in their first couple months than most people do in their entire lives. But
Yeah.
so we made it to the end. But
Ten.
before we give our my thoughts on this animated classic,
Mhm.
I would love to hear your rating and your thoughts.
Okay. So I have a little fun stuff, some trivias.
Okay.
Before we go into ratings. Cruella de Vil's inspiration, she was voiced by Betty Lou Gerson.
Okay.
And I think that's how you say her name, is one of Disney's most iconic villains. Her exaggerated movements and dramatic persona were partially inspired by Tallulah Bankhead, a flamboyant actress known for her commanding presence. And Cruella's striking design with her two-toned hair color and her gaunt features set a new standard for villainous fashion.
I mean, she was a fashionista, which they then answer a lot in the remake many years.
True. And then with Pongo and Perdita, Rod Taylor voiced Pongo. He was known for his roles in live action films like The Time Machine. And Kate Bauer, who voiced Perdita, contributed to her character's gentle yet strong maternal tone. The chemistry between these two characters set the precedent for future Disney animal couples.
I support. I can see that.
And then, fun fact, so for cost saving measures, the animating 101 distinct Dalmatians was a daunting task. So the production team developed a system to replicate the dog spots without hand drawing each one. In total, the film contains approximately. Do you want to go for this?
6,469,952 spots.
Yeah.
I did
So
not count those.
so we don't know if that's accurate. Way to go, Jeff. You had one job. I'm just kidding. And then music was by George Bruns. The jazzy upbeat score marked a shift from Disney's traditional orchestra soundtracks. The song Cruella de Vil, sung by Roger, stands out as one of Disney's most memorable villain themes.
Mhm.
And the jazzy rendition further underscored the film's modern setting.
Yeah.
It was a box office success. It was critical and commercial triumph, grossing over 14 million in its initial release, more than any previous Disney animated feature. It effectively saved the studio from financial difficulties following the expensive production of Sleeping Beauty.
I'm happy it did.
Too. Although I thought it came out in the 90s when I was a child. Um, Sequels and adaptations. The film has inspired various adaptations, including the live action version in 1996 starring Glenn Close.
Yep.
In its sequel, 102 Dalmatians, which I don't think I've ever actually seen.
We'll get there.
The story's timeless appeal has also led to animated TV series and a 2021 prequel, Cruella, exploring the villain's origins.
Which we will also get to.
And then we have pop culture influence. The image of Dalmatian puppies has become synonymous with Disney magic. The film also popularized the breed, leading to an increase in Dalmatian adoptions. However, unfortunately, though many owners were unprepared for the dog's high energy, leading to subsequent abandonment issues of pets. Kind of like Taco Bell and Chihuahuas, if you think about it.
Or the fish from.
So, um, being a huge animal lover, I definitely suggest if you're looking for a furry friend, please go to pet. We adopted our pet, so
It's true.
they always need homes.
It's true. Some of the,
And then obviously, if you don't have enough room for a Dalmatian plantation, just saving one is nice. But
so there is some
yeah,
little cute nods to this in the fire station at Walt Disney World.
yes, there are
Um,
very cute ones.
so how about a rating
Ratings.
and your list upon a star?
Um, so IMDb gave this a 7.3 out of 10.
Okay, it's low.
Like everything else, it's
It's low. Go ahead.
I gave it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Okay. What do you got? What do you got going on there for the 9 out of 10? Why do you think that? How about your list upon a star? All that stuff.
Because when I was a kid, to me, this movie came out when I watched it. I had no idea there was such history behind this movie. I thought it was a brand new movie. I had this sucker on the VHS every day after kindergarten. I came home. I jungle gym my way up to the freezer at my grandma's house. Got a bowl of Charlotte Hornets ice cream. It's probably really not what it was called. I know that's not what it was called, but it was a vanilla ice cream with little candy coated pieces in it, but they weren't like as big as M&Ms. It was more like chips, I guess, and they were coated in purple and teal, and that was Charlotte Hornets ice cream to me. So I would have a bowl of that. I'd go back to the living room, pop in my VHS, bloop, hit play, and I watched 101 Dalmatians every day after school in kindergarten. It was one of my favorite films. There's a big nostalgia kicker for me for that, and I mean, it was a great movie. I loved animals. I always wanted a pet. At that point in my life, I didn't have one.
Well,
I wanted a Dalmatian plantation.
so before you do your actual list here,
Mhm.
can I talk about how much my thoughts on this film so we can do
No.
our lists together? I'll see myself out.
Yes, you can. Not you can go over your thing, not see yourself out. Sorry. Bye.
If you can't tell already, if I didn't blow this already, this is hands down my favorite Walt Disney film of all time. I'm excited to watch many films. I love many films to come. I'm excited to think more into those films as we go, but nothing has a more nostalgic anything in my life than this film. I've watched it. I wrote here. I've watched it significantly more than any Disney film, except for maybe 10 Things I Hate About You, but that's not Disney canon. So
Are you sure? You don't think you've watched Alice in Wonderland more?
Oh man, I used to fall asleep with Alice in Wonderland all the
I
time.
know.
I love this film. I watched it so much as a child. I can quote it. That's why in this recap I was quoting actual.
It was kind of annoying, actually.
Rude.
It's rude when I'm trying to watch it and you're over quoting them.
The animation is great. Unlike what Walt said, the story's great. The bad guys are great. The songs are great. 10 out of 10. But I would love to hear your list upon a star. And does 101 Dalmatians make your list with your 9 rating? I guess you should say.
Yeah. So 101 Dalmatians definitely makes my list upon a star, and that means the Swiss Family Robinson. It was nice to see you for a little while. I did enjoy you, but not as much. Sorry. If this would have been a little further down, you might have stood a chance, but sorry. Anyway, so 101 Dalmatians, I am gonna put as my number 1 spot now.
Which means that your number 2 spot had an 11 film streak, but it is no longer at your number 1. So go ahead and read your.
So I have 101 Dalmatians, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, The Three Caballeros, The Shaggy Dog, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Fantasia, and then Toby Tyler or 10 Weeks in the Circus.
So.
Or with the circus, sorry. I lied.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Peter Pan.
He's a big Pan fan.
I'm a big fan of Peter Pan. I have tattoos for Peter Pan. It means a lot to me.
Yep.
But Peter Pan has had a 31 movie streak, and it's coming to an end. So
goodbye, Cinderella that gets everything.
It's coming off my list. She was in the bottom, and I'm moving everybody else down. And I have to tell you, not to do spoiler alerts, but this might be might be hard to beat, but we'll see because there's some heavy hitters coming soon that I'm excited about.
Heavy hitters coming soon.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blow it now. But so my list upon a star is number one. As you can see, we both wrote ours differently, but number one, 101 Dalmatians. Number two, Peter Pan. Number three, Alice in Wonderland. 4, Pinocchio. 5, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. 6, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. 7, Sleeping Beauty. 8, Lady and the Tramp. 9, The Swiss Family Robinson. And 10, The Three Caballeros. And I wrote here at the end, if you can look at my top 3 films here. Look at my top 3 films here. And I wrote, I guess I just love Disney films based out of London, England, because I have Alice, I have Peter, and I have 101 Dalmatians. And also,
and apparently he is more a fan of animation and not live action.
Well, duh. This is a Christmas movie. This is on our Christmas movie watch list every year.
Bothers me. No, it's not.
Tell me it's not a Christmas movie. It's deep diving the magic pod at gmail.com and tell me it doesn't end. Like all these.
I don't know. I just don't feel like it's a Christmas movie. But okay.
It is.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, look at
You're allowed to your opinion.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching and listening to me quote this movie and ramble on. I hope everybody is in the holiday spirit, and I hope that we are helping you get there.
Please tell us if you watch this on your holiday
your holiday watch list.
Your holiday watch list, if this makes your every year.
Because it makes ours.
Yeah.
As always, we can be found on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and of course, deepdivingthemagicpod at gmail.com. This is what I wrote. Let us know if this is a Christmas movie or not. Next episode, we are diving into another Disney classic film that was also remade in the 90s, just like this film was, for film number 52 from March of 1961. It is The Absent-Minded Professor.
Okay.
Would you like to take us out?
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.